On August 2, 2017, dressed in her work uniform, 21-year-old Savannah Gold left her Jacksonville, Florida family home for a 5:30 p.m. shift at the Bonefish Grill, a seafood restaurant where she had worked as a server for the past 2 years. An hour and a half later, Savannah's mother Sherry received a bizarre text from her phone. "Welcome or welcome back to True Stories. Join our family in exploring some of the most twisted true crime cases." As always, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. Now, let's get into it. Hey, I just wanted to tell you and Mom, I met a really great guy and we're running away together. I love him, and we are leaving tonight. He'll call you later when we get to where we are going, the text read. A few minutes later, Savannah's brother Chris received another text from her phone. "Hey, I quit, I'm leaving with my boyfriend, I can't do this shit anymore, I'm just want to get away." Savannah's parents knew the texts weren't from their daughter the minute they read them. They were riddled with spelling errors, which was unlike Savannah. They called and texted her repeatedly, but there was no answer, and even her social media went dark. They reported Savannah missing, and it didn't take long for authorities to find her car. It was sitting in the parking lot of the Bonefish Grill, unlocked. The front left tire was slashed, and Savannah's purse was found near the driver's seat. Her phone was missing, but her credit cards, cash and identification were still there, ruling out a robbery. Investigators interviewed Savannah's co-workers, including the chef and manager of the Bonefish Grill, 28-year-old Lee Rodarte. He claimed he hadn't seen her at all that day. Lee appeared to be distraught over Savannah's disappearance and helped her family search for her, even putting up missing flyers at the restaurant. Fortunately for detectives, a surveillance camera covered the entire parking lot of the Bonefish Grill, and when they took a look, they were stunned with what they found. Savannah's entire kidnapping was caught on tape. At 5:31 p.m., Savannah pulled into the parking lot of the Bonefish Grill and parked. Seconds later, a silver Chevy Malibu pulled up next to her. Savannah walked over to the car and spoke with the driver through the window for 14 minutes. She then got into the backseat, and that was when things took a dark turn. The car began to jerk violently, back and forth. The left passenger side door swung open 3 separate times, as if someone was trying to escape. Each time, it was quickly closed shut. After 90 seconds, the car stopped moving. Suddenly, the driver of the Chevy Malibu got out and walked over to Savannah's car. They opened the driver's side door, leaned it and took an unknown object. They then slashed one of Savannah's tires, got back into the Chevy Malibu and sped off at 6:04 p.m., with Savannah still inside. It was clear a struggle had ensued between Savannah and the mysterious driver. What detectives didn't know was who and why. With the use of the CCTV footage, investigators quickly discovered the owner of the Chevy Malibu was none other than Lee Rodarte, the same person who said he hadn't seen Savannah at all on the day she vanished. On August 5, detectives went to the Bonefish Grill and took Lee in for a second interview mid-shift. When asked to remove his chef's jacket, detectives noticed a cut on his neck. Lee described it as self-inflicted. Partway into the interrogation, Lee admitted that only was he with Savannah on August 2, the day she disappeared, but that she was more than just his co-worker. Despite having a long-term girlfriend of 12 years named Chelsea, Lee was also sleeping with Savannah on the side for 8 months. According to Lee, he ended things with Savannah shortly before her disappearance. She became upset and retaliated by telling all of their co-workers about their relationship, and it had gotten back to Chelsea. It was also against company policy for Lee and Savannah to have an intimate relationship because he was her superior.
I heard that she basically telling a lot of people at work that we hooked up a bunch, like a couple of days before that, and that she was going to like tell about the whole situation and, you know, try to get me fired. And
why would that get you fired?
I'm a manager and she's an employee. So
okay, so you guys aren't supposed to fraternize?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
And she just told
Lee feared missing with his job as well as Chelsea. On August 2, Lee drove to the Bonefish Grill knowing Savannah was about to arrive for a shift and confronted her. Following the argument, Lee said Savannah was picked up by someone in a green Ford and he never saw her again. Oddly, Lee continued to repeat that Savannah had her phone in her hand when she left. Of course, cameras don't lie, and detectives knew Savannah had never left Lee's vehicle, at least not in the parking lot of the Bonefish Grill. They also had a hunch the mysterious object Lee had taken from Savannah's car was her phone, which he then used to text her family pretending to be her.
She had her phone in her hand, she got out of the car and walked towards the main entrance from San Jose of the plaza, but she was walking maybe towards this way. And I would say an older model Ford pickup, green.
Okay.
Drove past me and around, and she got in.
At first, Lee stuck to his story. He insisted he didn't know where Savannah was and that he never drove off with her, but when confronted with the video evidence, he changed his story. Lee admitted to killing Savannah, but claimed it was in self-defense. Lee said Savannah was a heavy drug user, and it was one of the reasons had distanced himself from her. According to Lee, Savannah was high in heroin during their argument, and when she got into his car, she attacked him. He said he tried to stop her by putting his hands around her neck, at which point he heard a pop and realized he had killed her. Lee admitted to slashing Savannah's tire and stealing her phone to text her family she had run away. He then burned her body in a fire pit in the backyard of his home and dumped her in a nearby pond. A dive team recovered Savannah's remains. She was wrapped in both a plastic sheet and a blanket and was bound with duct tape. 75% of her body was covered in burns. Despite Lee's claim that Savannah was on heroin at the time of her murder, no drugs were found in her system.
And she asked me, she said, "Can I come sit in the car? Because I just did some heroin and I'm a little paranoid."
It was clear Savannah had suffered a violent death, but the exact cause of death could not be determined. The medical examiner stated cartilage in her thyroid was fractured, but it would not have resulted in her immediate death. To this day, it is unclear exactly what Lee did to Savannah in his car that fateful day. Following Lee's confession, detectives left him in the alone, at which point he went from crying inconsolably to being angry at Savannah, Chelsea and himself.
Fucking idiot, Lee. Fucking stupid. It's so stupid. Oh, fucking.
Lee was arrested and charged with second-degree murder, tampering with evidence and abuse of a corpse. Lee called Chelsea from jail and said couldn't talk about the case, but that he felt remorse. Despite his confession and so-called feelings of remorse, Lee pleaded not guilty and attempted to use the stand your ground law as his defense, which was ultimately denied. Lee later changed his plea to guilty in an effort to avoid a life sentence. On March 11, 2021, he was sentenced to 40 years in prison. It turns out murder runs in the family. Lee's sister, Amber Camarillo, was sentenced to 20 years in prison in 2018 for the murder of Raquel Wallace at a Super 8 motel over an argument about a car. Savannah Gold had a heart made of just that, gold. A true empath, Savannah was kind, compassionate and undeniably selfless. She loved art, lacrosse, dancing, sewing and animals. Savannah chose to see the good in people, and that's how she'll forever be remembered. We've come to the end, thank you for watching.